Good evening. Glad you can be here this evening. We are here for the council agenda meeting for Thursday, February the 17th at 6 p.m. At this time, if you'll please stand, Tony Griffin from First United Methodist Church will say the invocation.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for the beautiful day that you have provided. And we thank you most of all for the love and care that you show us and for our wonderful community. Lord, today we pray that we would have a sense of your presence and a sense of the common good as we seek to pursue your will. Help us to love one another and to serve one another, for we ask these things in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ. Amen.
Please face the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'll ask our sit-in city clerk, Ms. Palladino, to do roll call.
Ms. Caruth. Present. Mr. Harris.
Here.
Mr. Tripp.
Here.
Mr. Olson. Here. Mr. Harrell.
Here.
Mr. Westcott.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gray. Mr. Keller.
Present.
Mr. Richard Harris.
Here.
Trey Smith.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Thank you. Council, you do have in front of you the minutes from the January 3rd and January 20th of 2022 council meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second.
Second.
Second from Mr. Keller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report. Ms. Johnson.
General fund revenues for January were $1,363,717, which was 6.3% above budget. Tax receipts were $1,053,110, and franchise fees and permits was $129,340. Tax revenue comparison, this is just January to January compared to prior year. In the city, there's 20% increase over prior year, and in county, there's 19% over prior year. And understand that that tax dollars is from spending that happened in November. So that's not all of Christmas purchasing. Compared to budget, the city is running 2% above budget and county is running 3% above budget. January expenditures for the general fund were $1,577,634. There's $1,002,680 for personnel-related expenditures and $574,954 for utilities and other. It's 18% above budget, but there's several annual payments that are made in January. $213,918 more expended than received. Street fund revenues for January were $1,129,862. This was made up of new sales tax of $644,540, state turnback and ad valorem tax of $201,785, half-cent road sales tax $67,059. There was a grant revenue for the schoolhouse trail of $195,100, interest earned of $15,072, street cutting permits of $4,700, miscellaneous of $1,275, and there was a utility reimbursement of $331. Street operating revenue is 7% above projections. Street fund expenditures for January operations were $180,419. $132,373 were personnel-related expense and $48,045 for utilities and other. Capital spending, we spent $53,564 on a 2022 Ford F-450. And sales tax spending was $744,791 for overlay and drainage maintenance. January revenues for the economic development funds was $105,789. New sales tax of $92,077, farm income of $11,600, and interest of $2,102. January expenditures were $50,522. It's a purchase of a 2021 Ram pickup for the fire department, Arkansas Valley Alliance, and equipment for the new RPD vehicles. Balances of various economic development funds as of January 31st were as follows. The 2003 fund was $1,548,141.67. The 2007 fund was $1,021,491.77. The 2014 fund was $666,943.56, and the 2021 fund was $962,836.56. The total of all the economic development funds is $4,199,413.56. January revenues for the capital assets was $100,316. That was transfer of funds for projects for the admin building, RPD building, and airport equipment appropriation. Interest was $266. January expenditures was $57,484 for the installation of HVAC at the youth center and purchase of a ground power unit for the airport. This is the picture of the 2021 1-cent sales tax. For the street fund, we've received $6,740,002. We've spent $744,791, so we have a balance of $5,995,211. On the capital, we have received $962,482, spent $258,680, and have a balance of $703,802. For parks, we've received $962,619. We spent $136,728. And we have a balance of $825,891. For economic development, we've received $962,837, and we haven't spent any out of that fund. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the mayor's report. Item number one, Ms. Skelton sent out to each council member the financial statements from the Legislative Joint Auditing Committee, and we need to do a roll call to make sure that you have received that. So I will turn the floor over to Ms. Palladino to do that roll call.
Ms. Caruth? Present. Mr. Harris? Yes. Mr. Tripp? Yes. Mr. Olson? Yes. Mr. Harrell?
Yes.
Mr. Westcott?
Yes.
Mr. Gray?
Yes.
Mr. Keller?
Yes.
Mayor Richard Harris?
Yes.
Trey Smith?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Everyone did receive it. Okay, item number two, consideration of appointment of Wayne Cummings to the Board of Adjustments. Unanimously recommended by the Planning Commission. I did send out Mr. Cummings' bio. Mr. Cummings, would you please stand up so everyone can at least see who you are? There you go. Thank you very much. Is there any questions?
Mayor, make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Something that's not on your agenda tonight, the mayor's report. You know, last year we started a new thing for the city to award an Employee of the Year award. And so due to some complications last month, we weren't able to present this award, but I do want to take the opportunity tonight to present the City of Russellville Employee of the Year award for 2021. This last year, since it was the first year, I selected the Employee of the Year. This year, I turned it over to my directors of each department to make that decision, and I think they made an excellent decision this year. The employee that's to be awarded this year has been employed with the City of Russellville since 2017. Being hired as the assistant manager to oversee the daily operations, maintenance, and administration of the Aquatic Center, she directly supervises 22 staff members, assists with the website, and helps develop promotions and programs for the Aquatic Center. The employee actively helps to drive active pool schedules for classes, fitness programs, and swim teams. Has gotten qualified as an instructor to save the city money and provide better results for our staff. Her focus on safety and customer focus is worthy of praise. Recently, when obligated to take on management of Hickey Pool, in addition to the responsibilities at the Aquatic Center, she welcomed the opportunity to more efficiently utilize city resources to better serve the community. Her work ethic and passion for excellence in serving those who utilize the aquatic facilities in our city serves as a model for others to follow. Her leadership, enthusiasm, and optimism is contagious and exemplifies an employee who loves her job. With all this in mind, it is my honor and privilege to award the 2021 Employee of the Year Award to Melissa Beatty, Assistant Manager of the Russellville Aquatic Center. She didn't know anything about this Melissa, thank you for your service, and the award was well deserved. Okay, at this time, we will move on to the department reports. Mr. Frazier.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The mayor did tell me I get bonus points if I keep it brief, so here we go. Last year was a real good year for us. We actually broke 100,000 gallons of fuel sold. We had 121,016 gallons of fuel that we sold. We had 9,318 operations in 2021 as compared to 7,107 operations in 2020. And a lot of the operations, those are takeoff and landings, and a lot of that is due to the flight school that we have out there. But also, we've seen some new corporate customers coming in, which is always a positive sign for us. It's a positive sign for the city of Russellville. Some of the developments we've got going on out there, we did the taxiway B realignment with the airport improvement grant money. Again, that was at zero cost to the city of Russellville, all reimbursed by the FAA. We've got hangar construction going on out there. We've got the pad poured. We've got the drainage in for the hangar that y'all approved last year. All we're waiting on now is the building, and it's supposed to be delivered anytime between now and probably the middle of March. Once the building gets here, it's a short turnaround time to put that in. Then all we'll have left is the paving and access for that building. All the hangars are already committed, and we still have a waiting list. So, you know, those hangars will fill up, and we'll still have a waiting list to work off of. Last year, the federal government introduced, and the bill was passed, the basic infrastructure law. And what that means for airports in Arkansas, based on the number of based aircraft, which we fill that out every year and send to the FAA, they're giving us additional funding. For us, that's $159,000. So that means we get our regular airport improvement grant of $150,000 plus an additional $159,000. So that's $309,000 that we'll be getting from the FAA for every year for the next 10 years. Now, the only outlier on that is if we have more planes there, we get more money. So don't be surprised if I don't come ask you for some more money for hangars. Along that same vein, the state yesterday approved, and we're partially responsible for this, an 80-20 matching grant for hangars up to $400,000, which we will be able to apply for more state funding beginning in July. So we'll kind of take a pulse on where we are at the middle of the year, and you'll probably see me sometime July or August with a plan for building more hangars. We can qualify for 2 grants a year, and in doing that, we can get a total of $650,000 from the state for hangar development. So those are kind of some of the things that are going on out there. You know, with the new funding that we're getting with the basic infrastructure law, that's moving some major projects up, moving them forward for us. And the main one is the airport apron rehabilitation. One of the problems that we have there is when they put that system in, they did a lot of French drains, which French drains are fine, but not for that big of an area. So we're going to take everything out, go down probably, without core sampling, I'd say we're probably going to go down at least 30 inches, if not more, and come back with some B-stone and fabric, then aggregate, then pavement. And what that'll do, that'll allow all the water that's coming off and running into that clay layer and not being able to go anywhere but up. The hydrostatic pressure is just tearing that pavement up. That pavement's only probably 12 years old, and it's in terrible shape. So we're going to do it right and do it once. So those are some of the things that we've got on tap. We did get the new ground power unit in that y'all approved. Of course, this is a slow time of year for us for air traffic, but starting next month, we should see that pick up, and that unit will get used a lot, especially in the summertime. So I appreciate y'all's support and look forward to working with y'all this next year on some major stuff and good stuff for the airport. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Fraser.
Thank you.
And for those who came tonight to show their appreciation for Melissa's award, feel free to leave at any time. I know you probably didn't come to sit through the whole council meeting, so feel free to step out. And it's good to see you again, Brian and Connie. Personnel Committee. Any report? No report. Thank you. At this time, I'll turn the floor over to the Finance Committee. Mr. Westcott.
Thank you, Mayor. From our meeting at 5:30 this evening, we have one item. It's an appropriation request from the General Fund 2021 year-end carryover balance, the sum of $24,454.45 to be used to install epoxy flooring in the bathrooms and lobby of the Aquatic Center, and the committee presents this as a motion to adopt.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
From our meeting last week, item number 1 is an appropriation request from the General Fund 2021 year-end carryover balance, the sum of $28,000 to be used to purchase 2 canine units plus the handler training and equipment for the police department. The committee presents item number 1 as a motion to adopt.
Thank you for that motion. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2 is consideration of a resolution for the amendment to the general fund revenues and expenditures budget for the city of Russellville for the 12 months beginning January 1, 2022. The committee presents item number 2 as a motion to adopt.
I have a motion. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3 is an appropriation request from the General Fund 2021 year-end carryover balance, the sum of $13,000 to be used to purchase the CAD paging and CAD web monitoring for the fire department and the police department. And the committee presents item number 3 as a motion to adopt.
I have a motion. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4 and 4A. Number 4 is an appropriation request from the Fire Contingency Fund and the Fire Insurance Premiums Fund, the total sum of $349,228.01 to be used for the purchase of a live burn facility for the Russellville Fire Department. Number 4A is consideration of a resolution that would accept a bid from Fire Training Structures, LLC, to build that multi-story live burn facility. The committee presents items number 4 and 4A as a motion to adopt.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5 is an appropriation request from the city's 2021 general fund carryover balance, the sum of $2,572.96 to help replace a 2020 Ford Explorer police vehicle that was critically injured in an accident, and we present item number 5 as a motion to adopt.
Motion, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6 is consideration of an ordinance that would approve and adopt an amendment to the permit fees related to new residential construction for single-family, duplex, triplex, quadplex, or 4-unit townhomes for 1 year. And I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with a reading requirement, read one time only by title with a short explanation.
Have a motion, do I have a second? A second from Mr. Tripp, is that all right? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance approving and adopting an amendment to the permit fee related to new residential construction for single-family duplex, triplex, quadplex, or 4 townhomes for a 1-year period and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would waive for a 1-year time period beginning March 1st, running to of this year and running to February 28th of 2023 for permits involving for the following construction aforementioned for incidental subdivision fees, variance fees, street cut permit fees, building permits, mechanical permits, electrical permits, and plumbing permits.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt in a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, in an effort to encourage the promotion of growth within the city limits of Russellville, according to the time frame of this ordinance, I move that we do enact the emergency clause.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to implement the emergency clause. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, to my knowledge, that's the last on our finance agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to unfinished old business. Let me get to the right spot in my booklet. Item number 1 is consideration of an ordinance establishing a public and private street renaming process and criteria for the city of Russellville. This is the third and final reading. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with a reading requirement, read by title only with a short explanation.
I have a motion,
Second.
second from Mr. Keller. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance establishing a public and private street renaming process and criteria for the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would set out a procedure along with a criteria for any individual or persons that want to rename a street, and sets out that criteria and the benchmarks for a petition to turn into the city, along with a fee schedule for such a petition.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt.
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Keller. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item number 2, consideration of an ordinance for the vacation and abandoning 14 feet of North Cleveland Avenue and 8 feet along East H Street along lots 1 and 12 of Block 101 of the J.L. Shin Addition. This is for property located at 201 East G Street in Russellville. This is the second of 3 readings. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the second and final time by title with a short explanation.
I understand this is a motion to suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirements, read by title only for the second and final time. Do I have a second? Second from Mr. Harris. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance vacating and abandoning 14 feet of North Cleveland Avenue and 8 feet along East H Street along lots 1 and 12 of Block 101 of the J.L. Shin Edition for property located at 201 East G Street in the city of Russellville, Pope County, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would vacate the aforementioned description as further shown by the exhibits that are attached, and vacate it so that revert back to the property owners in the adjacent areas.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second from Mr. Keller. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3.
Mayor, can I make a motion for discussion on 3 and 3A?
I have a motion to discuss. You want to combine 3 and 3A, a motion to discuss. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we do have some individuals who have signed up to speak on these items, so
You want to allow them to speak first or us to?
I would prefer.
Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay, there is item number 3, Laurie Fiorello, is that correct? Thank you. From Arkansas Tech? Yes. Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor Harris, City Council members, and members of the City of Russellville. I am Laurie Fiorello. I am the Vice President of Admin and Finance for Arkansas Tech University. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to address City Council. The El Paso Mixed Use District is part of the Arkansas Tech University Campus Master Plan adopted by the ATU Board of Trustees, in 2017. The progress we have made so far along the El Paso corridor is the result of a collaborative effort between representatives of Arkansas Tech University and the City of Russellville. ATU involved the city as a partner in the El Paso Mixed Use District process, which included input from the Office of the Mayor, a presentation to the City Council, and an opportunity for the members of the community to provide input. Arkansas Tech has invested in the district through property acquisition within the zoned area. Rezoning of the area would negatively affect the long-range vision for the district. Rezoning would also prohibit planned development that supports migration of university functions designed to serve as a catalyst for the development and revitalization of the area. Arkansas Tech University does not support changing the zoning of the El Paso district. Should council decide to explore options for approval of zoning modification, the university respectfully requests additional time to present a set of design standards that could be applied to the business in order to partially mitigate inconsistencies with the overall master plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions, Ms. Fiorello? Thank you. I apologize. Okay, let's see, also, Alan Andrews has asked to speak. Mr. Andrews, you have 3 minutes.
Several days ago, I had a chat with Mr. Westcott about the predicament down there on our property at the mouth of El Paso. In the course of the conversation, he kind of emphatically stated, well, there's not going to be any spot zoning. Like, forget it. A few days later, I spoke with a former city council member and mentioned that exchange, and he said, well, spot zoning is what's got Russellville all screwed up. So I got on russellvillemaps.info to see what this spot zoning atrocity looked like. And I couldn't see it was that pervasive or that big a deal, but I was astonished to notice on El Paso, in the heart of the El Paso zone, the vision, on the property that the out-of-town developers have purchased, there is a C2 building, a building zone C2 highway commercial. So we'd like to be C2 down on our property. I'm operating as C2 right now, and I'm there grandfathered in off into infinity. If Donna was allowed to be C2, she could be relieved of the harm this zoning has done to her rental property. It's an auto garage. So that is our request, that we be rezoned to C2. There's an existing precedent down the street. Remember in one of the planning commission meetings, Sarah John was adamantly against a special use permit because she said, the argument was, well, anybody down El Paso could request a special use permit. Well, there's an existing precedent for that right now, and it is C2, and it is the epitome of spot zoning. It's a single building. It's 511 North El Paso. It's owned by Peters & Son. So for spot zoning, it's if it fits into the adjoining properties, a business is there. That's an argument for spot zoning. We are bordered by businesses to the east and to the south and to the west. And Donna specifically I border her, and I'm operating as a C2. So it's a used car lot. So I request that we have our property zoned to C2 and be left out of Arkansas Tech's plans for the development of El Paso. It's not going to affect me. I'm grandfathered in. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions? Council?
Just a point of clarification is he's requesting just right there to be rezoned as C2. Now, are either 3A or 3 or 3A rezoning this property to C2?
No,
I don't believe that either of these ordinances do that.
Let Ms. Jandal address it, but I believe all we're doing is allowing it in the table of permitted uses as opposed to rezoning it. Is that correct, Ms. Jandal?
That is correct. Neither of these applications rezone the property to C2. It's just an update to the table of permitted uses.
Okay, so if we were to consider, like if Mr. Andrews has made the request for it to be rezoned, just completely rezoned to C2, would this have to go back to the planning commission then to start that whole process over again?
Ms. Jandal shaking her head yes.
Okay, so that's just something that I think that Mr. Andrews might want to keep in mind when he's making that request, that he's requesting something that's going to start the process from square one. And I would be willing to hear from him again now that he has that information.
Sure. We started all over again. It's been started in October. We've made no progress on that. The ultimate solution for our predicament would be to rezone it to C2. That's what it is anyhow. And as another thing, we weren't adequately notified, once again, of the change in 2018. And come to find out, a lot of people along North El Paso and other regions of the, downtown crossing were unaware of it too. So this was kind of people got sandbagged by this. And this is harming a legitimate business activity on El Paso. It's been there for years. So yeah, we can start this all over again. I'm grandfathered in. I've got a new renter. So sure.
Thank you. Mr. Tripp?
Well, with Mr. Andrews' points and his request, it may be for nothing, but Ms. Jandal, I do have a clarification question for you. So what's being requested is a special use permit for an auto detail shop, correct?
Correct. So they're asking, it's 3 or 3A. 3 is to permit, to update the schedule of uses to allow an auto detail shop as a permitted use, outright permitted. 3A, I believe, is the one that is updating the schedule of uses to allow an auto detail shop by special use permit, which then would have some criteria that development would need to meet in order to have a auto detail shop within the district.
Thank you. And so to more clearly define, our terminology of an auto detail shop is washing and waxing and vacuuming a car?
Yes, sir.
No replacing batteries, alternators, tires, painting, none of that. It's no repairs, no maintenance. It's getting out there with a pressure washer or a bucket of soap and water and a rag and washing and getting a little chamois or whatever it's called to dry it and wax it. So that's what they're requesting to be done at this site.
Correct. Auto detail shop is the request. They're not asking for auto repair, they're not asking for auto sales, just auto detail shop. Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Andrews, you're saying restart this and go to a C2 rezoning request?
I would just like to real quick, I want to hear from Mr. Andrews, and I want him to have his input in this, but I would like to just for this body to realize that it's Ms. Donna Andrews that has made this submission. So as much as I want to hear from you, Mr. Andrews, I would need to hear from her as far as withdrawing this application, you know, I would need to hear her opinion on this as well, not just take it from Mr. Andrews.
There was so much time wasted in this process that I suggested it need to be rented. The building needed to be rented. I suggested she put a for rent sign on it. They were worried nobody's going to rent it. Okay, it has been rented at a reduced rate. So the auto detailing thing has gone away. Jonathan found a place down towards Leonard's. So that's moot. So we have started this in October and drag it all the way forward. And just a few days ago, a week, she rented that. So auto detailing, don't worry about the details to auto detailing. That's not an issue anymore. So it needs to start all over again. I'd like it to be C2. Donna can get up here and tell you exactly that. That would solve our problems and would never have to come before the city council again, theoretically, about business operations.
Mr. Andrews, just for clarification, the reason why I asked is because I was ready to make your point of use for this purpose, because I don't want to restrict a property owner's rights any more than what we have to for use of their own property. And I don't see any harm to anybody around for an auto detail shop to operate there. But if you guys want to change, and I understand it has been a long time, and I apologize for that, but it's the technicalities, but I'm okay with that. But I felt like you guys had been
Inconvenience.
pushed, delayed, or whatever the right word is, a little bit to an extent here for the purpose of an auto detail shop. And that's why I just asked for the record, the definition of the auto repair shop, or detail shop, I'm
Well,
sorry.
the correct solution would be for that garage to be available to anything that's auto services related. And there could be, attenders to it or whatever for decorum in the area. But that limits you, there might not be another person want to put an auto detailing shop in there. That's just a one-off thing with Jonathan. This needs to be, to solve this problem, it needs to be more broad-ranging to accommodate any instance. Anything off the list of permitted activities on a C2 property would be ideal. And a lot of them, like for my operations, you've got to get a special use permit. A bunch of stuff off the list requires a special use permit. You got to go through the process. But it's not by fiat excluded as a possibility.
Mr. Andrews. One last thing, and so it's my opinion, at least somewhat, that if the city is going to hold up a private landowner's use and restricted use of their property, then maybe the city or whoever that's intended to do this needs to buy the property and hold it for that development instead of putting the restrictions on the landowners to sit there and hold their property while it devalues. And I have an issue with that from
A little detail about selling the property.
Right. No, I'm just saying, I don't like how you guys have been restricted use of your property. If the big brother government's going to do that, maybe the government or somebody needs to buy your property so that you don't sit there with expenses and no income because of restricted use, is what I'm getting at.
Well, there's a little detail to that concept. Nobody considers the tax implications. Now, that property would be, I hate to think what it'd cost. The government would probably get 40, your opposite number at the federal level, probably get 40, 45%, maybe more. Have to look at the tax schedule. You have to get an accountant. Two, right now, you probably kept up with the news that inflation is evidently becoming more of a hazard, a real problem. So what? You take valuable property and transform it into cash that is inflating away. So no, I'm strictly opposed to that. I like to keep a valuable piece of property and use it. Will be the ideal solution from my standpoint.
Mr. Andrews, did I hear you correctly? You said that you put a for for rent sign in the window and you rented the building out.
Yeah,
So
Donna did.
are you, is there something else that you have in mind of putting in there?
Well, it'd be an auto mechanic wanted to, well, it's originally the detailing shop. But what brings in, it's a calculation, it's by square foot, it's like $10 a square foot. It'd be like $2,500 a month. But this property, this was rented at substantially less than that. Because most of the properties off the list of suggested uses can't pay that kind of rent. They're barely, in my opinion, qualify as businesses. So yeah, it was rented. I think it's a church-related thing, isn't it, Donna? Yeah. So it's not really a business.
Sarah, can I ask for a clarification? Once something is zoned C2, doesn't that then take precedence and it's always going to be C2? And then anything after this?
Yes, sir. So if we were to go through the process to rezone that property to a C2, it would no longer fall under the requirements of the El Paso zone, which is this downtown crossing zone. And so that vision would not be held to these two properties that are under the Andrews ownership, and they would be C2. So then anything permitted in C2 would be permitted on those properties.
Also, Ms. John Dahl, what is the parking lot requirements on the C2 versus where it is now? Because I don't think it's all paved. I think it's gravel. Is there requirements on that?
The requirements for hard surface are the same. You have to have a hard surface parking for all of your parking. They have been there in operation, and so they were grandfathered in under that. When you change the use and you go through a process, then you have to come into compliance. However, El Paso District has additional requirements above what C2 does, in that if your if your parking lot is adjacent to the right-of-way, then you have screening requirements. And so there are additional requirements in the El Paso District than there would be in a C2 district.
Okay.
Sir, on the city improvements that were done on El Paso, that include the lighting, the sidewalks, the bike paths, the greenery, all that stuff, do we know approximately how much the city spent on that?
No, I am sorry. Unfortunately, I do not know how much the city spent on that project.
Mr. Tripp probably does.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I thought it was around $4 million, but I couldn't remember.
So what I have gathered or understand from the past, I don't know, dealing with this the last 2 months, Tech being the largest property owner, as well as the Salters that are about to do a $22 million investment, along with, there's about 3 other property owners that have called me on this. They all do not want it. It's also been denied by the planning, or the city planner is asking to deny the request. So I don't understand why we don't let people do their job and take majority. I mean, everybody wants to talk about the majority rules and what people want. Well, the majority of the property owners in the area are saying one thing, and we're sitting here talking about another. There was a vision cast, I don't know how many years ago, through all these landowners, developers, visionaries, all this stuff, and we're going to sit here and at the first glimpse of opposition give into it. I don't know. That's where I'm at on that.
I have an easy question for Ms. Andrews. We've yet to hear from Ms. Andrews. If I understand it correctly, you are now asking to have this property rezoned as C2. Is that correct? Okay. That being said, and the special use permit for an auto detail shop no longer being the desired result of the petitioner, I move that items 3 and 3A be removed from the agenda.
I have
Second.
a motion to remove items 3 and 3A from the agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on, new business. Item number 1, consideration of a resolution expressing the willingness of the city of Russellville to partner with Arkansas Department of Transportation for the East 4th Street Railroad Signal Upgrade, Railroad Highway Crossing Improvement. This has been submitted by Mr. Newman. What is the desire of the council in relation to this particular resolution?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, consideration of a resolution to authorize the mayor and city clerk treasurer to enter into an agreement for design engineering consultant service for the Waterloo Avenue and East 2nd Street improvements. I have a motion by the council on this issue.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion, a second. Second by Mr. Olson. Discussion. I will add this to the council just so you are aware. Ms. Johnson, who has left now, has identified that there is some tax issues associated with that property that the city has taken possession of in the pilot agreement. I am currently working with the Americold, and they're going to make that right, is what they've told me. But I certainly want to make sure that before we get too far down this road of fixing these roads, that we get that resolution on that tax issue. So, having said that, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, consideration of a resolution to accept a bid for the West Main Place Drainage Improvement Project for the city of Russellville. What is the desire of the council in relation to that project?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, consideration of a resolution to accept the bid for Parkway Drive, Davis Drive Box Culvert. This is the box behind the old National Home Center that needs to be replaced. What is the desire of the council?
Motion to approve.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mayor, just a quick question, maybe this may be for Mr. Newman. Do you know what the timeframe is specifically on this project? Start date and completion time?
Yes, sir, thank you. If the council approves the funding for the project, it will approximately start construction within 2 months. Typically, we give them about 10 to 15 days to get all the contract documents back to the city for insurance purposes. And then the actual construction duration we have in the contract is approximately 75 days once we issue the notice of award.
May, that is a very utilized enter and exit route for the election coming up in May. So if there's no impeding safety issue or anything else, if we could work around that, I think that would be a good thing, not to inconvenience a lot of people.
I'll have to look at our timetable, and we'd have to talk to the contractor.
At least take it into
extends.
consideration.
Yes, sir. We can definitely do that, and we can look at the schedule. But I do understand a lot of people utilize that route to that location, but obviously they do have other resource to get to that voting location.
I got one other question. I couldn't tell from the drawings, is there going to be any realignment there? Is it going to be widened, or is it going to be the same, just replacing same for same?
It's replacing same for same, with the exception of the profile will elevate the top of the culvert a little bit, so it's not the bounce down as it is today.
Any other discussion? Excuse me, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, consideration of an ordinance revision to the PUD zone of certain realty in the city of Russell. This would be associated with the Hudson Harbor. What is the desire of the council?
Can I make a motion for discussion, please?
I have a motion for discussion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. I do have some individuals that have signed up to speak on this issue. Mr. Garza. You're actually here to sign up for, speak on item 5. Do you want to wait until item 5? Oh, this is item 5. I was getting this confused with the Sweden issue, which is item 7 or 8.
Right, that's 7, I think, or, yeah, something like that. Item 5, that's what we're on right now, Hudson Harbor. David Garza, for the record, Barrett and Associates. The request for increased size in the available floor plans for this development was brought on by the consumer, not by the developer. The current market is demanding larger sizes, and we're seeing that everywhere. The application was submitted in December of 2021 and received support from the city staff, from the planner, and the Planning Commission. It was forwarded to this council in January, and then it was returned back to the Planning Commission for further consideration, where we had more attended planning commissioners there, and it was once again approved unanimously and brought before this council tonight. So after the meeting, I did speak to several of the commissioners the second time, and they were unaware of any differences, or they weren't aware of any, problems. They knew what they were voting the first time. So I don't know where the problem happened, but anyhow, proper notification to the adjacent property owners were sent in December with no one attending the meeting. I thought there would be a lot, but no one showed up. Only after the council did someone show up at the council meeting. There was no opposition at the second meeting that we heard or saw, and so we brought that back. It's now back here. There are 3 construction-related issues that were brought at the onset of this in 2015, 16, 17, and 18, and that was traffic, facade, and small houses and values. People were concerned about small houses and values. Well, this will help those people because now the houses could be larger. I'm not saying they're all going to be larger because they don't always fit. We have a plan of which ones can fit.
Yeah, 1 minute remaining.
Yes, sir. So some of those won't be able to be fit on there, so there'll still be some smaller ones. So as I conclude, I'll just say, denial of the request tonight is kind of saying no to your city planner. She supported it. It's saying no to the planning commissioners. They approved it twice, not just once. It's saying no to Karen Lee, who would love to live there, and she presented her thoughts on that. But not only that, but the 17 other families that will live there as well. When it's all said and done, if you look at this project, okay, it's not about Mr. Lee because he's going to be gone. It's about those 20 families that are going to live there. They're going to have a POA, and they're going to manage this project. And for them, they're going to want this to be wonderful. So if you look at it from that standpoint, that's what we're denying, or you might be denying. So I just want you to give you consideration to that, to what I just said.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. Any
Thank you.
questions for Mr. Garza? Okay, I have Tabitha Davis would like to speak. You have 3 minutes, Ms. Davis.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to us again. I'm here for Hudson Harbor, but I'm also here for real estate and houses in our community. And I just want to give you some stats of what's happening. In case you're not aware, you probably are, but just so you're aware of what's happening within our local community. As of today, there are 42 homes for sale in Russellville, and that's in every price range. Most people are shocked when we say that because we are desperately in need of homes for sale. What's driving our request is we've had people who want larger homes within this community, 1,900, 2,000, 2,200 square feet, or otherwise we wouldn't be here asking again. But just so you're aware, last year there were a total of 700 homes that sold in Russellville with the Russellville address. There were only 25 new construction homes last year that went through the MLS. Now, please know any statistics that I give you are coming directly out of our MLS. That's where I gather my information, and that's where the realtors post their listings and their sales. But just 25. There were a total of 54 throughout the River Valley, but 25 within Russellville. So there's a huge need. Majority of those were over at the Promenade and a few scattered in Shiloh. and then we had two in Hudson Harbor. As it is today, there are only 5 new constructions available in the MLS. All 5 of those are in Hudson Harbor, with the request for someone wanting 1,900, 2,000 square feet. So we ask that you would reconsider that. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about Hudson Harbor or about real estate in general.
Ms. Davis, you say that there's just 5 houses, new construction?
New construction
that's for
in
sale?
Russellville, presently active in the MLS.
Okay, because I have, matter of fact, there's a house three streets up from me that's a new construction that's for sale, that's listed through a realtor, so I'm just a little.
It possibly could be pending, because
Yeah.
that's how they are doing.
Yeah,
It's possible it's pending, but if you put in active within my MLS, there are only 5 for sale today. And I ran that number before I got here to confirm, because new listings come up all the time.
I was just curious where the number on them, I understand the MLS, but that just.
It's the multiple listing service. It's where realtors place all their listings. That's how we know about each other's listings. You're welcome.
Thank you, Ms. Davis.
You're welcome.
And also have to sign up to speak, Mr. Ron Hughes. Okay, is there any questions for Mr. Hughes? Okay, counsel?
Mayor, for clarification purposes, there are 3 things here that I'll ask this question on at the end. 2018, I voted no on this project. It passed the council. I voted no out of the concerns of the residents to the project. Today, the project's been ongoing. It passed the council 4 years ago. I said 4 years ago. 2018 is when I voted against it, and it's been ongoing since. Been through COVID and some other issues. But my question is, today, you've heard what Ms. Davis said. Other realtors I've talked to basically have said the same thing. Are we trying to give someone the tools and the margin to be successful? Or are we trying to confine them in a box? And that's my concern here. I'm not a realtor, but I understand things change. We have 3 options as a council. We can approve it as requested, we can deny it altogether, or we can pick anywhere in between. If there's 10 things requested, we can approve 1 of them, or we can approve 9 of them. That's our 3 options. Ms. John Dahl, I asked you before the meeting, so just specifically what's being requested is nothing more than adding floor plans, some of them larger, some of them not, 10 or 12 floor plans, with the largest being approximately 2,043 square feet, and the largest current square footage is 17 something?
Yes, sir.
So give or take 300 square feet.
It's approximately, it was 322 square feet difference from the largest originally approved to what would be the largest approved if you approve this application.
And the largest is one of them, or it can be multiple of them?
It's one floor plan.
Okay.
But it could be on multiple lots.
And each lot of the 2021 lots in this PUD subdivision is labeled in this paperwork of what floor plan can go on what lot.
Yes, sir.
So they're restricted. Some lots may have 1, or some lots may have all 10 of them available.
Yes, sir.
So it's guided specifically by that, which we as a council have the ability to change that if we so choose.
You do have the ability to change that. I know that some of those floor plans cannot fit on certain lots, and so.
Right. But if the council wanted to limit the number of
Yes, sir.
2,000 square foot homes to 4 or whatever, we could do that under the PUD guidelines.
Yes, sir.
So we have the ability to mix and match and anywhere in between complete approval and complete denial.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So they're wanting to build bigger houses, not really change the architectural design of it, which means in turns more I mean, if you want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it, it's more tax dollars. It's market-driven. I just don't understand, other than 4 years ago's problems, I don't understand what the issue is with the development. I don't see any neighbors here speaking out against it. There's the city planners for it, the planning commission's for it, everybody's for it. There's no just like the last item, there's no reason for us to be against it. I mean, everybody, who are we to say what the market wants? We're not. It all goes back to petty stuff from 4 years ago, and I don't think we should go there. We do what the market says, we do what everybody else says, is approved, it's good, it's gone through the filter process. Let it go.
Yeah, that's good. Yes.
Mayor, has anyone been out there to look at it? Because I did that.
Yes,
Went out and drove around.
I'm
How many
convinced that most
houses are
people
out
have.
there?
3.
Anybody know?
I think there's 3.
There are,
There's 2 that are completed and 1 that's not, correct?
correct, and then there's one that has a foundation.
And how long has it been since we approved this?
4 years.
It was approved in the beginning of
December
2019.
2018.
Yes, thank you.
Well, not a lot of progress. I don't know. Is this going to help to get houses built, to do this, to just change it? Or what is wrong with him doing what he signed up to do? I mean,
And you know, I've engaged a lot of
I
the.
remember how upset all those people were out there. They were so upset because they were going to put in, quote, garden homes.
And I have engaged a lot of the folks out there this week. I've went back out there, and I know that there's not people out here. I'm sure if I was to ask them to come up here and talk, they probably would be more than willing to come up here and let you know how they feel. Myself, I have no personal agenda. I mean, if the people over there wanted a trailer house on stilts and it fit the zoning, then so be it. But they're concerned, the concern of the people is the project was supposed to be garden homes. And the concern, you know, I went back to these same folks and said, okay, if you're building bigger homes in there, bigger homes, bigger square footage, means more money. Yeah, that is more money, unless you're just building whatever you basically want, and, you know, siding and whatever, and I know that that's off the table, but the folks over there is more concerned with, okay, if, you know, the acreage, houses being, you know, where you can basically go out and, you know, touch the other one, that's their concern, the green space, the drainage, building stuff bigger, and then the loss of the garden home effect, instead of just a 2,200 square foot home out there, just put wherever it wants to and say, oh yeah, okay, this is a garden home in here. That's what they're concerned with. I mean, the first impression that they had on the garden homes, of course, a lot of folks out there was opposed to it, and I've expressed that in agenda meetings, but that's their concern, is it's just gonna be just, okay, we're gonna call it garden homes out here, but it's just, here's you 21 homes at 2,100 square foot placed out here, and they're just combottled in here. Take it as you get it and go on with it. And the folks out there, they want to have the project, wanted him to build the project as it was, you know. And I know that there was an email that said, you know, that there's always a plan B, and I kind of, you know, I said, their plan B is plan A, building what they said they was going to build.
Can you tell me what a garden home, what the definition of garden homes is? Because there is no side. I mean, as in my construction life, have worked on construction garden homes that are 4,500 square foot down to 500 square foot. So can you get a good definition there?
No, I cannot give you a good definition of a garden home. When this application came back, I had to do some research on what garden homes can be, and it's really homes that are closer together in a smaller community,
They do range in size. They range from a standard subdivision to a garden home. The definition is really all over the board. So unfortunately, I cannot give you a clear definition for a garden home.
Ms. Davis, if your answer's going to be any longer, I'll need you to step up to the mic. Yeah, there's people watching on TV and they can't hear you, so. Sure, you signed up to speak, so you certainly can speak.
We're the developer of the subdivision. To address Mrs. Caruth's question and Mr. Harris. We got approved in December of 18. Took about 7 months to get sewer, water, all that put in. Now we're at the end of 19. I got COVID in November of 19. And then 20, we all know what happened. So everything came to a screeching halt. Then when things started to open up, prices skyrocketed. So we didn't go in there and build 10 at a time. We're starting 5 next week. We're gonna, well, 3 more besides the 2 are there. There are 3 homes there that are completed. They're all sold. The lot, to address Mr. Harris, we're not changing anything as far as lot size. It's not a lot, it's a unit size. There's still got to be the same distance between each house. Basically, all we're asking to do is maybe enclose a patio that was going to be there for livable space. There's one particular home that there's a garage that sits off to the side. There's quite a bit of space behind that garage that people want to incorporate. It's not about us, it's what people are asking for.
Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I wasn't present whenever it was voted on and all, but I understand from the history that y'all have shared that the property owners in that area petitioned against it.
Yes.
And Mr. Hughes, as the developer, brought the plans to the city that this is what he wanted to build with these specs in a PUD-approved area. And I understand the COVID and the price of construction materials and all, but it was approved against the neighbors' wishes. And now then, changes to that, and I'd asked the question with Mr. Garza the other time, would it change outside configurations and appearances? And the house plan shows that it would. And I asked, I said, well, could he just replat the area and make larger lots if he wanted a little bit larger houses and still maintain the setbacks? And he said the expense of redoing the infrastructure would be pretty high on that. But I think that we have, as a council, even prior to me, agreed to Mr. Hughes' request on the first run, and things may have changed, but I don't think that's the council's fault, and it may not be Mr. Hughes' fault, but I don't think that readdressing it and changing the dynamics of the PUD, the outside appearance, which it will, as I understand from Mr. Garza, the roof lines changes, the setbacks and the character of the buildings would change. I think that we'd be going against what the council at that time approved, and so I would think either stay as we are or replat it and make larger lots and fewer houses to reach the square footage.
Well, Mr. Harrell, just real quick, so are you saying that if a council makes a decision on a matter that future councils should not have the ability to change that decision as circumstances change?
No, I was just saying as they approved that, based on Mr. Hughes' request, it wasn't the council dictating. And so now that we're faced with that option, I think we should honor what the original request was made by the contractor.
Mr. Harold addressing, may I respond?
Sure. And I took a privilege there. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
I do appreciate all the council members. The changes that are going to happen in the House, as we've discussed, and Sarah showed you guys really well on the agenda prep. The only changes are taking the patio away. So you're adding 100-foot or 200-foot, and then, or the ultimate, which is the patio size of 300 and something feet. Doesn't mean that they're all the buyers are going to want that, but it gives them that option. So the only thing it changes, I mean, the patios, some of the patios were already under roof, covered, some were not. So it's only that, it's the back portion. The fronts are going to change just a little bit by, I think it was 2 foot. Remember so 2 foot expansion over here, 3 foot over here. That's about all that's going to change. The facade remains the same as before. And, in my reading and the things that we do for the definition of a garden home, and Sarah's right, it is broad. And it all depends on where you're at, what region you're at. It's different up north than it is down south. But the definition that we had for a garden home is you have a single-family home or duplex on what's considered a garden-sized lot. And that's why they call it a garden home. It's not the home itself, it's the lot that it sits on, that it's a garden-sized lot. And when you look at Hendricks College, or the village at Hendricks, that's what they have. I mean, their houses are 5 foot apart, but some of them are 2-story, but they're garden homes because the lot itself is like a garden, is what but it is broad. I mean, there's no one set definition. If you read one, it says that for a garden home. You read something else, a definition for a garden home, it's different. And the ranges of size are like 4,000, from 2,000 to 4,000. It's pretty large.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. We have exhausted a lot of conversation here tonight. Is there any other discussion?
Yes, sir. Just in my discussions with council members, and then just hearing this tonight and discussing this issue, one thing that stuck out to me was that in 2018, the citizens in the area were opposed to the project at all. And in saying that they were opposed to the project, they said garden homes are bad and would be bad for our area in 2018. And now, 4 years later, in 2022, these same people are saying, no, not garden homes would be bad. Garden homes are what it needs to be. So in 4 years, the people have gone from garden homes bad to garden homes good, which is fine. People are allowed to change their mind. People are 100% allowed to change their mind. But I think that what that really highlights is the larger issue that's at play here is that the individuals who live in that area did not want this project at all. 100% did not want this project at all. But that decision's been made. That's not up for us tonight. We don't get to say this project will not happen. The only thing we get to say is whether or not this project will happen as originally planned or through the modifications. If you have a group of people who are going to be upset, no matter what we do, unless we do something that we cannot do, then you have to say, that's really unfortunate, and I really wish in December 2018, the council at that time had not tied our hands. But tied our hands they did. And so the only thing we are left to look at is people are going to be mad no matter what we do. However, from an economic development standpoint, from a market standpoint, from a just growth in the community standpoint, from a development overall standpoint, I think that it would be prudent for us to say, I'm sorry to those people that do not want this project. And they need to be really mad with the people who made that decision in December 2018. But we can't make you happy. But what we can do is we can make sure that this project is going to be the best that it can be. And if it is the opinion of staff, it is the opinion of the people who are wanting to purchase the homes, it is the opinion of the people who do this for a living, that making these modifications are going to give the people who live in that area the best neighborhood adjacent to them as possible, then we owe it to the city, and frankly, we owe it to those people who live there, that we make those modifications and give them the development that's in their area that is the best that it can be. Not making these modifications, would it be the best that it could be? I don't think it would be. I think we can give them the best that we can with the circumstances given to us from the council in 2018 by making these modifications. And that's just where I stand on it.
Any other discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to read this first of three readings by title and short explanation only. And this is just a matter of, getting it to the third reading at some point in time so it can be voted on up or down. So motion is to read first of three readings by title and short explanation.
Second.
Okay, I do have a motion, suspend the rules, dispense with reading requirements, read by title only with a short explanation for the first of three readings. And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
An ordinance revising the PUD zone of certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for the purposes, this ordinance, if passed, would rezone the property that's identified in this exhibit, in this ordinance as Exhibit A, which is commonly known as the Hudson Harbor area. It would revise the PUD that it was passed back in 2018, revise it to the new standards within the ordinance that are laid out in Exhibits B through, I believe, O, along with the house plans that are contained within Section 2, and would allow for internal wall flexibility, but the external walls would be have to be built to the plans that are attached.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Moving on to item 6, consideration of resolution.
Real quick, Mr. Mayor, before we go to that, one thing I would like to just put out into the world, to the people who are here, people who are watching at home, and then just for us, please, we're going to be talking about this on March 8th at our agenda prep meeting. Please, everybody who wants to have their say on this project, please come and talk. Change my mind. I want my mind to be changed if I'm not looking at it correctly. Please come out March 8th so that we can talk about this as a community.
Good point, Mr. Keller.
Item number 6, consideration of resolution granting a special use permit to operate an ice vending machine at 1301 South Arkansas Avenue. For the purposes, this was unanimously recommended by the planning commission. What is the desire of the council?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 7, consideration of an ordinance approving the final plat of Thunderbird Square, which is a minor subdivision, accepting the dedication of the easements to the city of Russellville. What is the desire of the council?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the first of three readings by title only with a short explanation.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance approving the final plat of the Thunderbird Square, a minor subdivision, accepting the dedications of easements to the city of Russellville, Arkansas for the purposes this ordinance, if passed, would accept the final plat and all the easements and dedications of right-of-way therein of Thunderbird Square, which is a minor subdivision as further shown in Exhibit A, and would also set out any conditions for any bonds should there be any other type of improvements not yet built but would need to be built in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item number 8, consideration of an ordinance approving the final replat of Sweden Addition, the same property that we just talked about a few minutes ago in Hudson Harbor. What is the desire of the council in relation to this ordinance?
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the first of 3 readings by title with a short explanation.
Thank you, Mr. Westcott. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? I have a second from Mr. Tripp. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance approving the final replat of Sweden Addition, a minor subdivision accepting the dedication of the easements to the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would accept the final replat of Sweden Addition, a minor subdivision as further shown and attached with this ordinance Exhibit A, and accept all the easements, dedications therein, and set out the bond requirements should there be any improvements that need to be built in the future, not yet built.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Item number 9, consideration of a resolution setting a public hearing on the 17th day of March for the vacation of 15 feet of North Greenwich right-of-way along Lot 7 and 15 in the, this is off East F Street in the J.L. Shin Addition. What is the desire of the council?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 10, and the final item for consideration tonight is consideration of ordinance for the approval of the application of a private club for La Chiquita Club 2.
Mayor, I move that we suspend the rules, dispense with the reading requirement, read the first of 3 readings by title only with a short explanation.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries.
An ordinance approving the private club permit for La Chiquita Club 2 Incorporated in line for the application of the required permits from the Arkansas Alcoholic Beverage Control Division per Arkansas Code annotated section 3-9-222 as amended for other purposes. This ordinance, if passed, would be the requirement needed for La Chiquita Club 2 to get local approval to go apply to the Arkansas ABCD Board for a on-premise alcohol consumption permit located at 512 Weir Road, Russellville, Arkansas.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. That concludes the items on the agenda. If there's nothing to add, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion to adjourn. Meeting is adjourned.